Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do, and I'll bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
The Ticket. Michigan Insider Podcast is brought to you in part by defense attorney and WTKA legal insider Joe Simon. Find Joe at themichigandefenders.com.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider, Sports Talk 1050, WTKA online at WTKA.com. Sam Webb, Mr. Ira Weintraub on the other side. Folks, what it, Coach, is it, what's his name? Is it Brown, Coach Brown? In the,
Lou Brown?
Yeah, Lou Brown. Lou Brown said it's coming together, right? So it's coming together.
That's what I was thinking when the game was over. That's how I was feeling.
Young kids, go get Major League. Go get Major League. It's a classic, a sports classic. You got to watch that. All right, but it's coming together, folks. And, it's interesting how, as we are back here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA online at WTKA.com, it is interesting how the goalposts get moved, right? Now what happens? You set out these goals, these benchmarks, these litmus tests at the beginning of the season. And then as the season unfolds and maybe you see some teams not be as good as you expected them to be, those benchmarks aren't seen as are thought of as being as substantial as you thought they would be heading into the season. But I think if you look at the circumstances of this game in Madison against a team that stops what you do best, their strength is strength on strength. Right? They don't let teams run on them. And you haven't won in Madison in 20 years. So as I said, after Michigan won this game emphatically, forget their record. This is not me making Michigan out to be the Big Ten favorite or a playoff contender. It's not me saying that based on beating Wisconsin. It is me saying that this was a big step, that this was a team that established itself as being in the conversation, in the hunt for the Big Ten. That is not something that you could say before this season. And it's something based on the sample space that we have to this point, you can say that legitimately they're in the conversation.
Sam, they haven't started 5-0 since 2016.
And it'd be different if they eked it out. They didn't eke it out.
Right, they've played solid football, and they won the game convincing on the road, and they are 5-0 for the first time since 2016.
Yeah, and this game had many, many elements that we've talked about over the last few, going back to week one, elements that we've talked about. And this gets us into our strategy recap with our friend Joe Simon, WTKA's legal expert and insider, gives us all the depth and detail on the law that we need. As you know, he said, hey, man, he can bend to your will. He can be controlled for the right price. I'm just joking. No, but Joe is the best attorney around. He is the best attorney around. Criminal defense, you need him, he's there for you. You don't want to look beyond Joe Simon, the law offices of Joseph A. Simon. You can find him online at themichigandefenders.com. But one of the things that we talked about, well, let's build up to the conversation to one of the things that Joe and I have been talking about since week one. In order to win this game, Michigan was going to have to threaten through the air. They were going to have to not just threaten, but convert through the air. The passing game was going to have to be the difference in this game. And it was. Cade McNamara was going to have his best passing game. And he did, Ira. And he did. And in a hostile environment. In a place, like we said, Michigan hadn't won in 20 years. And so while you could see some of the nervous, I don't know. I'm calling it nervous, is just not being quite dialed in, not quite being in rhythm early. A couple receivers Blake Corum made a play for him early to get a first down. There were some things to kind of help him get on track. And then a great call. The flea flicker, Mr. Weintraub, the flea flicker. That's older than you and I imagine. But we talked about taking deep shots. We talked about targeting. Did we not talk about last week them targeting Cornelius Johnson more? Did we not say that would be a priority? And it was. And you saw on that play, great call to dial up a shot play with a receiver that was running open in the secondary. And we saw that a number of times on the day. A call that dialed up receivers that were open down the field. And he hit his fair share of them. And so that was a one of those early sort of salvos that gives a quarterback some confidence, gets the receivers fired up, right? And that's Wisconsin. No, man, okay, this is gonna be something we have to look out for. Now, they continue to be stout against the run. Michigan continued to have shots down the field. Now, there were a few. There were a few I know he wish he had back. I know he wish he had that wheel route to Donovan Edwards back. Ira shaking his head because that was a touchdown. That was a touchdown. Touchdown. Donovan is like, almost. People say, well, hit him in the hands. Hey, man, that dude he had to wait for the football to do his flight in his face.
Just a hair underthrown.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so one of those things. But, later in the game on a stutter and go, I'm sure you'll hear Devin come in and he will, later on this morning, he will give you his rendition of a stutter and go. Head down, ding, 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 ding. Ball. That's Devin. He'll do it. I promise you. Promise you he'll do it. Here's the thing. When Roman Wilson does that, Ira, he is off to the races. That's not dig, dig, dig. That's the gun going off and him going for the tape, right? Lean. That's the tape. That's him going for the 100-meter dash because the dude can fly. Ira, he had 3 steps on the DB. He had 3 steps on him. Now, Cade was getting hit. He was getting hit at the time, so you can understand why that ball hung up a little bit. But
that was a big play, too. Just a lot of similarity to the Rutgers play. Mm-hmm. But he obviously wasn't a targeting hit, but he bounced right back up after staying in. He didn't throw it early, right?
Big. Because one of the things that Klatt said, did you hear this part, Ira? Klatt, during the broadcast, said that he had talked to the coaches. He talked to the coaches, and they said, well, after the hit, he never quite got back in
Confirming
rhythm.
What we've talked about.
That's
exactly what we talked about.
That's exactly what we talked about.
And so when he took the hit, I'm sure a lot of us thought the same thing, like, how does he respond, right? Mm-hmm. He responded fine. First of all, you could throw the ball quicker, not wait to throw the ball because you've taken that hit, right? Mm-hmm. You've seen guys where they're going to throw it too quickly.
Right.
And he still stood in there and made the throws. That was my initial reaction. And then he gets up and he's fine. And he keeps making plays. You're like, that's the bounce back you were looking to see.
That is the bounce back you were looking to see. And someone said, well, how does Clyde have that information? And Harbaugh didn't say that to the rest of the media. The TV team, the broadcast team, they go in and they have briefings with that's part of their preparation for the game. They have briefings with the coaches.
And the information there is very proprietary and some of it is never revealed. And a lot of it is just, you can't talk about this until the game starts because once the game starts,
right,
you're not getting information to get it to somebody else, right?
Right. So that gives you, so Joel Klatt would have that intel. That's not something for you to question right there. And especially since it lines up. It adds up with exactly what we saw on tape. So it made it significant that he bounced right back from that hit in this game. He bounced back from some adversity where he was throwing behind receivers. He was late on balls early in this game. I'm sure people were like, oh, my.
Although there was one that Joel pointed out was not on Cade.
That was a little later in the game.
When Dalen
Baldwin didn't stop. Okay, he didn't sit down in his zone. That was a little later.
Because early he was just, right, you're like just a hair behind the receiver because you lead him a little more. There were a couple plays like that.
I was thinking of the first, like out of the gate. out of the gate, you could sort of see some things, and I follow the game. I tweet during the games, and you could sort of see the reactions where he just wasn't quite on. This is as Jim is going for it on fourth down. Craig Ross was in Jim Harbaugh's ear, like, Jim, go for it.
Yeah, like
go for it.
Say in the first drive of the game, Michigan had, after the first down, after that fourth down, they had a 2nd and 6 that he threw a slant to CJ. That was a little behind him, right? That's the first drive. Those are the plays you're talking about early in the game, and he started to get a little sharper.
And then he got sharper. He wound up hitting that big play to CJ. Now, he forced what I thought the force to CJ in the double coverage, the one he should have checked down. That I'm sure he heard it on the sideline, like, hey, bro, don't do that. We won. But what I took from it was they're trying to get the ball to Cornelius Johnson. They are really trying to get the ball to Cornelius Johnson. So, again, he hits those shots. He has some hits and some misses, some swings and some misses. He takes some hits. He gets back up. As you get into the game, he's converting third downs, right? And then I thought his last couple throws, were his best throws of the game. The corner route to Cornelius Johnson, and then the 2-point conversion to Cornelius. So I felt like this game was a step forward for Cade McNamara. You saw him have some adversity from a game prior and respond to it in this game. You saw him have some adversity in this game, whether it was taking hits or missing some throws, and bounce back from that in game. So a big step for him. But what have we been talking about? And Joe and I talked about this. We talked about incorporating J.J. McCarthy into the plan. I said as a complimentary piece. Joe said not as a replacement, but as an expansion. And he was talking about specifically as a run threat. We saw in JJ's first pull, right? JJ's first pull was, I thought it was 9-10 yards. They said he stepped out after 6, which I was like, come on, man. Taking some yards away from the young fella. I think after this game, I think we'll see JJ with increasing frequency be a part of their like 3rd and 4th and short type of things. Because remember the 4th and short where the linebacker crashed down. Now it was an MA. It was a missed assignment. Some people, why are you running up the middle? Play was there. There was a missed blocking assignment up front. And by missed blocking assignment, I mean didn't even touch him. You get a hand on that guy, and that's a first down. So this is not obscuring the fact that there was a missed assignment on that particular play, but you can sort of see the abandon with which teams react to Michigan's run game. I mean, their edge guys just don't respect perimeter threats often. And so you can see how having a J.J. McCarthy in and having a true read play on a play like that might be helpful. And so just getting JJ's feet wet in a really live, game still in question situation, I think prepares him to be utilized in that role a bit more. And then, of course, the more he's used in that way, the more susceptible teams are going to be to getting burned with that beautiful arm. Ira, the dude, he is a talent. That ball he threw to Dalen Baldwin, and what was significant to me was he threw that after he got hurt. You see he took some shots on the play before he got up limping. And so you knew they were, I thought either they're going to hand this off and it's like a clear handoff, or they're going to let him put it up because he can't run right now. They let him put it up. Touchdown, Ira. Beautiful ball from J.J. McCarthy.
I mean, it was perfect throw, Sam. I mean, just dropped it in. And that's why, so I was going through, and you know how I do the plays of the game, and at some point in a game like that, it's 31-10. It's over. I'm done taking my notes, right? I don't need any more. There's no plays of the game. The gem of the game to me was Cornelius Johnson getting 8 points on those 2 plays you talked about. It was really nice plays. I'm like, that's the icing on the cake. There's your gem of the game. And then I'm like, we have a bonus gem of the game.
So Joe and I, because Joe, he pointed out, just like I did, look, you had some growth from Cade McNamara, and you incorporated. We had this deal. Could you incorporate him incorporate JJ without it being a threat, without it messing with the psyche of your starting quarterback. And they've started to do that. And then on defense, you talk about gem of the game. I thought Mike McDonald, I thought he called a masterful game, Mr. Weintraub. I mean, you know that they have problems protecting the quarterback, they being Wisconsin. He brought pressure from everywhere. It came from everywhere. And I think they said there was pressure on every drop back, every throw. Pro football, I don't consider Pro Football Focus the gospel, but they do have some.
There was pressures on every play.
Pressures on every throw.
It's not that it's necessarily a blitz, right? It's just that they got to him or put quote unquote pressure on him on every play. I don't necessarily. There's only a couple of quarterback hurries in the stats. So, but did they make him move his feet a little bit or what? Probably. They were in his face. I mean, it helped that, I guess, one of the teammates poked their starting center in the eye in warm-ups. I mean, you take it, right? I mean, some fluky thing, you'll take it.
Right.
But they were having issues before that guy even went out, so they just took advantage of it. And, yes, it was like when I was watching a little bit of the game when Red Zone showed me the Baltimore game yesterday, and they're like, man, they're blitzing. They're bringing guys every down. You don't know where they're coming from, but they're always bringing somebody. And I'm like, that felt like last night or yesterday afternoon.
It sure did. And to your point, it complemented they didn't blitz every play, but it complemented the pressure that you were getting up front. And David Ajabo, this was a coming out party for him.
And that was the thing you and I talked a ton about, and I brought this up in the players of the game. The two things that we're talking about here again, for rightfully so. One, we talked about a lot about the quarterback position, right? So we talked about what Cade did in the game and mentioning JJ as well. But the other thing that we talked a lot about was who's Aiden's running mate, right? Who's the guy on the other side? We knew that there was guys, in particular with Ojabo, with potential, but who's the running mate? Who's the guy that, if Aiden's getting all this attention, who's going to take advantage of it? And then they take advantage of it to the point where, well, you got to have to split attention a little bit more. And Ojabo with 2.5 sacks, second straight game with a forced fumble. I mean, the guy is definitely making his presence felt. He's been really fun to watch these last few games as he's elevating his game.
He is, and he's a terrific athlete, one of the best athletes on the team. Remember, this is a guy who ran, I believe, a sub 1100 meter in high school, and he's a defensive end, so he's a lot bigger now, but still has some foot speed. So that is really rising to the fore. Graham Mertz was able to get a little bit of a rhythm with the soft coverage, and then was eventually able to get him when they started injecting a little more man into the equation. I know that the soft coverage is a bit maddening to fans. I know you look at it, it's like, man, this is like the antithesis of what we saw before, like the polar opposite. I think they're trying to balance a couple of things. Look, they don't have pure track guy. They don't have pure foot speed on the corner. And I think that they play to that. The way they play recognizes that. It also recognizes the strength of this team, and certainly in this secondary, is tackling, being physical, right? Physical guys in the secondary. Now, Dax is physical and he's fast. Rarely are you going to beat him in man-to-man coverage. They happen to do so a couple of times, right? Happens. I saw some folks, what's going on with him? Nothing. Everyone gets beat. Everyone gets beat. The best get beat. But the best, the really good guys, respond. And Dax Hill responded. You see where he blitzed from? Go back and put that tape in.
He blitzed from Milwaukee, Sam.
It's like, man. They couldn't pick it up. But he probably thought, I know we got to get to the break. Mertz probably thought, he can't get there. They're overloaded to that side. So we can't pick everyone up to that side if he comes. But he can't get here. Ira, he got there in a big way. With authority. Not dirty. Clean hit.
Clean.
But for him to get there, that's some foot. That's picking him up and putting him down. And then he gets an interception to top it off a little later. So Dax came back strong. But great game, great team victory. Special teams were outstanding. Great team victory for Michigan. Great strategy sort of, preview that we heard last week from Joe Simon. He was on top of it. If you have criminal defense needs, Joe Simon is the attorney for you. You can find the law offices of Joseph A. Simon at themichigandefenders.com. Again, that's themichigandefenders.com. We got to get to a break. Back on the other side here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, The Ticket.